We got Mercenary for the 2. Waiting a year on Switch 2, it is a disappointment. I will tell you, thank you, Nope, I appreciate you. I will tell you, actually, that'll be a good segue. I guess kind of a topic that I wanted to talk about tonight is my initial impressions with my Switch 2. Uh, Now having it for 24 hours, what are my takeaways from it, and is it worth getting? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. So, first off, no, it's not. let's get that out of the way. It's literally the same thing as the old Switch, except a bigger screen and a smoother interface. And holy crap, the eShop actually doesn't lag anymore, which is, if you guys play on your Switch, you know exactly what I'm talking about when you load up your eShop, and it's just like, good luck even navigating to a game on the eShop, because it's just like you click down once and you have to wait like 30 seconds and then like 6 pictures load. And then you click down once more and you have to wait like 30 seconds for 6 more pictures. I'm like, I have high-speed internet. Everything else in my house works perfectly fine. But my Switch is like, bro, you need to slow down. There's a lot of games on this shop. I can't go that fast here. So the one good thing about the Switch 2 is the screen size and the controller size. The controllers, I have it right in front of me here. It actually feels like, oh, that's going to turn on my Switch probably if it connects. Hope it doesn't, but the controller feels like an actual, like, adult controller. Like, it's not like a baby controller where I was cramping my fingers trying to play the original Switch all the time. This one feels way more natural. I will give it credit too. The connections for it, like the snapping, is so smooth. It just, there's a button on the back. Just pop it there, like that, and it shows the plus, so you know what side you're on, in case you care. And it's very satisfying. Like, it has a very satisfying like magnet. It like kind of pulls itself into it. If you put it just close enough, it's like yoink and just yanks it. So the controller on the actual Joy-Cons is a huge improvement over the original Switch. The screen size, huge improvement over the original Switch. Pixels on the screen itself, I have limited playtime on the handheld mode, so I can't speak too much to that. But so far, I haven't personally noticed much of a difference on the pixels. But again, maybe if I play it for longer, I will have a different experience with it. Most of the playtime has been on the dock and playing it on the screen here. 2-player with my son playing Mario Kart. And honestly, here's the sad thing. A lot of original Switch games, we're using this as an opportunity to really game together more, but we find ourselves just going back to playing original Switch games that we didn't play enough. So it's a very weird situation. This launch, I even said this on X earlier today, this might be the worst console launch when it comes to games ever. And I'm not even like exaggerating when I say that. Think about the original games that are available. Think about what you can buy with the Switch 2. And initially going into it, I thought it was going to be light, where maybe, get Mario Kart World, get was it Tour, whatever it's called, Switch Tour, and Donkey Kong Bonanza. And I was like, yeah, those 3 games should hold me over, should be fine. And then while I'm in line, people in the chat were like, bro, Bonanza's not out for another month. And I was like, why? What the hell? So clearly the game is ready, but it's a Nintendo holding it back to have a game to sell after the launch window, to be like, hey, here's another reason to buy the Switch 2. If you didn't buy it at launch, now there's a new game. It's Donkey Kong. It should have come out with Mario Kart World. I think Nintendo was worried about consuming their own sales with their own game by putting both games out there and making it a choice for consumers, saying which one are you going to pick up. And I'm like, no. If you're buying a new system for $500 plus USD, you're going to want more than one game to play with it. Most likely, especially if this is like the game that the system that you want to like show off to your friends and play and stuff like. It's like this. There's nothing out for it right now. There's nothing. When I was at Best Buy, I was shocked. They had a huge assortment of games, all Switch 2 titles. I was like, wow, that's a lot of games for sale. And then I started individually going through each one of them. And outside of Cyberpunk, which I did play and I didn't love, but that was at launch and people said it got a lot better, so I should play it again, which I didn't have any interest in playing it again on Switch 2. So I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to buy it on Switch 2. I'd rather play it on Steam anyways. So I stayed clear of that one. And then and Hogwarts Legacy, which people said is amazing and I've never played. I was tempted to get Hogwarts Legacy, but I'm like, you know what? I don't have time to play Hogwarts Legacy. That's a game that's already been out for a while. And if I want to play Hogwarts Legacy, I'll get that on Steam as well or PS5. I don't want to really go out of my way to get that on Switch 2. And it got me thinking, the Switch 2 is really a first-party system. None of these third-party games interest me because you can get them cheaper elsewhere. And with that being the case, I'm only going to be using my Switch 2 for unique indie games that you can only get on the Switch 2 that have like the Joy-Cons have a mouse in them. That I was playing one of the games on the Switch 2 Tour game that you could like move the mouse around and try to move a spaceship around. And it was addicting as hell. Like me and my son were playing it for hours today, like multiple hours. We were just trading off, going back and forth, seeing who can get a higher score. We're having so much fun with it. It was great, great times. But I'm like, outside of that, I'm like, it's really just a fun little thing, but you could easily replicate that with a computer mouse. So is it a reason to buy a Switch 2? No, it's not. There's nothing that I've seen, including Mario Kart World, that makes me say the Switch 2 is definitely worth it. Which going into it, that was exactly my expectation. So I'm not surprised. My expectations have been met, and I'm not being exceeded at all. I expected a much more powerful Switch. It seems, as far as I can tell, to be a much more powerful Switch, but there's nothing to really showcase the much more powerful Switch. Playing Mario Kart World doesn't necessarily make me feel like it's a game that couldn't play on the Switch. Maybe there are restrictions. I mean, there are a lot of characters. There's a lot of stuff going on. Maybe there is, but I'm just saying it as a casual Mario Kart enjoyer, which is what I am. I do partake in Mario Kart. I do enjoy it. I do love it. I don't live for Mario Kart though. It's like one of those games like I'll definitely play it. I'll definitely play it all day long, but I'm not going to be like, oh my God, what's the latest update with this? The carts that you can get for Toad and the acceleration can go to the, I don't care. I literally don't care. So nothing about it so far has wowed me. And I do wonder about the long-term chances of the success for the Switch 2 with the initial allotment of consoles being far more than I ever could have imagined. There were so many Switch 2 consoles at the Best Buy that I went to last night that those of you that were in the live stream saw. There was actually a employee that was legitimately walking through the line of what felt like hundreds, maybe approaching 1,000 people. There were a lot of people there last night. It probably wasn't 1,000, but it was like, it felt like that. It felt like there were like 800, maybe more people there in total. And there was an employee walking through the line saying, anyone want to buy a second Switch? Because we have extras. What? and then I hear rumors, unsubstantiated rumors, that there are Walmarts across the country right now that have, and Targets too, that have their cages with the Switch 2s still for sale. Like they did not sell out of them. And I'm wondering if Nintendo knew this, because Nintendo does a lot of research and they probably looked at this from afar, judged the market, and were like, we're probably not going to sell as many of these as the Switch 1. In fact, we're quite confident we're not going to. The best way to maximize the sales is going to be the launch of this console. That's going to be striking while the iron's hot. And there will be never be another point in this console's life cycle that will get people as amped to buy it as day one. And Nintendo, knowing that, probably over-manufactured Switch 2s in hopes that they could meet demand and exceed demand so that scalpers would not be making money off of them, and so that Nintendo at the end of the day would be making all the money. And from what I see, that is exactly what happened. Nintendo cleaned up. Nintendo did pretty well on launch. A lot of people there, a lot of people buying them, and there were a shit ton of Switch 2s that were manufactured. So many to the point that I'm sure the Best Buy that I was at last night, I'm sure they sold out of them, but it wasn't like they sold out right away. It was like they probably pretty much met the demand of all the people there. And that was a lot of people, and they met the demand almost to a person, I would argue. And it makes me wonder about the following months for the Switch 2 on if there's going to be any kind of motivation to pick one up. I look at Donkey Kong Bonanza as maybe that will be that game, but I look at that game as basically a Mario Odyssey sequel, except instead of playing as Mario, you're playing as Donkey Kong. It has a very similar graphic style, and this is the hard sell that people are going to have. Kind of the same problem that Sony had with the PS4 to PS5 upgrade, where people were like, yeah, I guess there's a difference on the graphical quality, but why can't you make the game for the PS4 as well? Like, why do I need to upgrade to the PS5 for that? And I look at the Donkey Kong Bonanza and I'm like, I mean, you had Mario Odyssey I believe it was year one on the Switch. Was it at launch? No, it wasn't at launch, but it was year one of the Switch. Breath of the Wild was launched. And that game looked fantastic for a launch title for the Switch, the original Switch. So you can't tell me there's no reason why Donkey Kong Bonanza can't be on the original Switch, except for we need to move more units of the Switch 2, because that's the only way we're going to sell Switch 2s. That is concerning. And I think that's kind of one of the issues that these companies are going to start running into is the quality, the graphical fidelity, the processing power of these consoles are getting so good that it's like the next iteration up is like, yeah, I guess it's better, but the one we had was really good. So why can't you make it for both? And I look at Donkey Kong Bonanza as that should be a game for both. I look at Mario Kart World as that could have been a game for both. Maybe it couldn't. Maybe there were technical problems because they had so many carts on the screen at once. Maybe. But if we're talking servers, processing, and you had to be online for most of it, I don't know. I wonder about how that works. But I guess, long story short, should you buy a Switch 2 at launch or in the launch window? Absolutely not. The only reason you should is if you've never bought a Switch and you really like Nintendo, but for some reason you were waiting for like a better version of it, and you just never played Breath of the Wild, you never played Tears of the Kingdom, you never played the new, you love Mario Kart, you never played the new Mario Kart, and you really want to get in on those games and have the ability to have backwards compatibility to play Pikmin 4, Mario Odyssey, and that kind of stuff on a higher fidelity screen, then yeah, I guess it's worth it for you. But the amount of people that is going to be is a very small portion of the population. I mean, the Nintendo Switch sold how many millions upon millions of units? Pretty much anyone that ever wanted one has one. Most people have multiple. I have 3 Nintendo Switch. Well, I have 2 Nintendo Switches and a Switch Lite at my house. And now I have a Switch 2. So I have 3 original Switches and a Switch 2. Now, I'm really into, especially Nintendo, I'm really into video games. I'd imagine most people don't have as many as me, but at the same time, most people have one. And if people have kids, they probably have two, or at least a Switch and a Switch Lite. And with that being the case, it's a hard sell. It's a hard sell. I'm telling you guys, I even told you this beforehand. If I didn't have the YouTube channel and I didn't want to be able to speak to this, I would not have pre-ordered it. I wouldn't have cared. I was fine with my Switch. The only reason I would really go out of my way for the Switch 2 would be if Metroid Prime 4 was a Switch 2 exclusive. And it's not. So even that is like, well, if it's a dual release on the Switch and Switch 2, I would have no reason to upgrade to a Switch 2. So I do wonder about the future of the Switch 2. And Nintendo really does need to come up with a killer app. Mario Kart is not that. I don't look at Donkey Kong Bonanza as that either. Maybe that wheelchair game might be their answer to Rocket League, and it might just randomly take off. You know, you never know. But there needs to be a killer app that you have to use the Switch 2 controls for it to make sense to be like, oh, that's why it's only on that console. That's why I need to upgrade to it. Like with the Wii, it was like, oh, Wii Bowling. It might not be the best graphics. In fact, it's basically GameCube graphics, but you can't do Wii Bowling on a GameCube. You have to have a Wii. So people are like, okay, I'll upgrade to the Wii because now I can do the Wii Bowling. Like there's nothing like that currently with the Switch 2 outside of some mini games here or there with Welcome Tour. And that might be a problem for Nintendo a year or two down the road. But then again, it's Nintendo. And knowing them, they have a trick up their sleeve. And I wouldn't be surprised if they announce a new Zelda or something no one's even thought of, like a Kid Icarus or a property they haven't touched forever, and modernizing it and make it really special and unique where you have to get the Switch 2 for it. But as of right now, you ain't missing out on anything, guys. If you don't have the Switch 2, don't be stressing. JJJ3 says F-Zero. Yeah. If there was a next gen F-Zero with like 100 racers, which they already do on Switch with the original F-Zero, so like that's the thing. There are so many good games on the Switch that you can already play. That's like, even if they're really good on the Switch too, there are so many great games, so many. And I can guarantee you, most people never played 1/50th of the Switch library, if not 1/100th of the Switch library. Even if you play games all the time, there's so many games on the Switch, so many good games on the Switch, that it makes it really hard to be like, yeah, I get a Switch too, because reasons. I wonder if this is going to be the last iteration of a Nintendo console. Now, I know people have said that before, but I don't know. Maybe there'll be a Switch 3 at some point with even better graphics. I don't know. I wonder. Tiger King says we should get another Star Fox. I mean, if they do another Star Fox and they do it right, that could sell. That could sell. Wall Street Kid, balloon fight. Yeah. Animal Crossing is your guilty pleasure, says Just in Time. Yeah, I mean, Animal Crossing sells units. Pokemon sells units. So if they do like a unique Pokemon game that's only available on the Switch 2, and it's actually good and different from the other ones, that gives it a shot. That gives it a shot. Christopher James says Pilot Wings. I feel like Pilot Wings, like, as much as I agree, I love Pilot Wings 64, one of my favorite 64 games. I wonder if the simplicity of it might actually hurt it. Same thing with like Wave Race, stuff like that. Great games, but I almost feel like, especially if they're going to be charging like $80 for games, you need more than just a gameplay loop, like a basic gameplay loop now for $80. And Nintendo cursed themselves with that one, because now people's expectations are going to be through the roof for $80, especially if you can get like a Clair Obscur for 50. I know everyone points at Clair Obscur, but it's like, hey, it is what it is. Expedition 33 is $50. What are you doing to beat that? Nothing? All right. I'll tell you. I said this last night too while I was playing Mario Kart. I was having fun with Mario Kart, but I couldn't help but think I want to get back to Expedition 33 with this. So That should be something that concerns Nintendo. If people are wanting to play other people's games instead of theirs, it's been a while since anyone said that. I think the last time people felt like this was when the Genesis came out with Sonic the Hedgehog, and people were like, "Oh, what's that over there?" And Nintendo didn't like that very much. So, nobody says like the stream if you're on YouTube. Yes, like the stream. Appreciate you guys. But yeah, I'll basically leave that there. And shout out to Mercenary for the heads up on that topic, because I've been meaning to give you guys my 24-hour review of being with the system. Subject to change, of course. But as of right now, so far, it's a lot of fun, but it's not like you need to go spend $500+ on after taxes on this. No, definitely not. And with that being the case, I wouldn't be surprised, unlike the Switch, if the Switch 2 does actually go on sale for like $50 off on Black Friday or $100 off on Black Friday. I know it sounds crazy to say that right now. We're in June, and November is what, 5 months away? I mean, I could see a Switch 2 going on sale for $400 with Mario Kart, or the regular base model for $350 on Black Friday. I could see that. And that would definitely be worth it at $350. It would definitely be worth upgrading for $350. The problem is the price with it. I can't help but get over the price. That's the problem. Mercenary 2, I'm already hearing of Switch 2 brickings. I mean, is anyone surprised? Is anyone surprised? Mercenary 21 for the 2. Also, see the Switch 2 screen getting stable punches. Yes, we talked about that like probably almost exactly an hour ago. So rewind the stream. That was a fun one. Mercenary for the 2. Sorry, but you're wrong, Smash. Plus, there is OLED 2. What am I wrong about? The Switch 2 is worth it? I don't know. I don't know what you mean what I'm wrong about. Mercenary for the 2. Switch 2 is going to be Virtual Boy Wii U levels. I tend to agree with that. Just because it was selling like hotcakes on launch day, I don't necessarily think it's going to continue to sell like that. I do feel like there's going to be a big downturn on sales. There's going to be a catastrophic hit to sales in the coming months, unless, like I said, unless there's not to pull a Hypnotic and cover my ass, but unless there's something that comes out that's like, oh, that makes sense. That's why everyone's buying it. But right now, it's like, nope. And I don't know of anything on the horizon that's changing my mind on it. But that could always change. But yeah, I don't know why I'm wrong. I agree with you. That's what I've been saying. Maybe I didn't verbalize my points well enough. Max Resist for the 2. I just bought a PS5 Pro instead of a Switch 2. Sad. Here's the thing. The PS5 is an incredible system. PS5 Pro I don't have experience with, but I'd imagine it's even more incredible than a PS5. And if you have the PS Portal, which I do, it has PS5 graphics on a portable console. So it's already better than the Switch 2 on the PS Portal. And the screen is fantastic. It is like crystal clear. I was playing Final Fantasy Rebirth and on my PS Portal, and with laying in bed with the lights out, just playing through the game, you feel like you're in the world. Like the graphics are so good on the PS Portal. I know people shit on it all the time, but if you're going to be using a handheld around your house or at places that have a decent internet connection, you can get away with the PS Portal without a Switch 2. The only thing you're missing out on is first-party games from Nintendo, which again, I go back to. That's the only reason the Switch 2 is going to sell anything, is first-party. Nintendo lives by the sword, they die by the sword. You have to have good first-party games. And right now, Mario Kart World seems like a Mario Kart game. It doesn't blow me away. It's a very safe bet to launch a system with that. But what I really would have respected and been more excited about is if Nintendo pulled a Nintendo and did what they always do and take a risk. Make a game that's so unique that no other company would do or dare to launch a system with. And prove everyone wrong. Like with Pikmin. Pikmin's a game that no major publisher would ever do. Pikmin is incredible. I am a Pikmin maniac. I love everything Pikmin, except that 2DS title that sucked balls that was 2D. But the other ones, they're amazing. They're amazing. Pikmin 4, epic. Like everyone has to play Pikmin 4. It's addicting as hell. And that's a risk that Nintendo took. Mario Kart's too safe. Welcome Tours, too safe, too bland. They need to do something special and unique. They didn't do that. That's why I'm like, do they have something up their sleeve? Like Donkey Kong's too safe, too expected. It's already falling in line with Mario Odyssey. They've done it before. Do something unique. Do something Nintendo. I know I'm wearing like all red tonight too, by the way, when I'm like going on this rant. But I'm just saying, like, Nintendo has all the talent, all the magic, and they're too afraid to lose the lead. And because of that, they're going to lose the lead. They're not making like an Expedition 33. They're not making a game that challenges the boundaries of what people expect. It's just falling in line with what people want. And that is potentially going to doom them unless they take a risk. But anyways, I don't blame you, I guess is what I'm saying, Max Resist. I know that was kind of a very, very long-winded to get to. We got just in time for the two-banger. Bad Dougie. You're a bad Dougie. Dash. Nintendo Japan. Yeah. Again, Nintendo's playing it too safe. I feel like Reggie Fils-Aimé would have been like, we need to do something different here. Nintendo Japan is bowing down to America and being like, okay, let's round off all the edges. What can we do? What do you want? Let's remove the genders from the Miis. What else can we do? Old Man Grim in the house. What's up, bro? For the 5-banger says, like I said earlier on, they should have just made a Switch Pro version of the original console and just rode on that another 5 years or so. I think, and this is just me postulating based off of leaks and rumors that I've seen and chipsets that were exposed in a leak that came out like a week ago, that was the initial thought that Nintendo was going to do like 5 years ago or 4 years ago in 2021. But then the pandemic was happening and they were like, you know what? Let's wait. Because we're selling Switches hand over fist right now. We can't even make enough Switches. Why would we bother launching a Super Switch? Why don't we just kick this can down the road until the Switches start slowing down on sales, and we'll come out with a new version, a new generation, and just call it the Switch 2 and make exclusive games on that. I think that this was probably ready 3 or 4 years ago. I really do. And if that's the case, I mean, it's sad to see a game company follow the money instead of do what's best for the players. But such is business. They're not in business to make friends. They're making money. So, Old Man Grim for the 5-banger. A new Star Fox, but you fly around onto different areas and take out stuff, land, and do first-person, third-person missions, a la Star Fox Adventures. Oh, wait. A la Mass Effect. Sorry, I had to. Come on, Old Man Grim. Did you not play Star Fox Adventures? But yes, what was Star Fox Adventures? It was supposed to be called Dinosaur Planet, and then the last minute they're like, yeah, let's just slap the Star Fox name on this because that'll sell more copies. Nintendo, for as magical and incredible as they can be slimy little shits with how they market shit. So I don't trust them as far as I can throw them, but at the same time, when they put a banger out, they definitely put a banger out. So, and every time they do that, it's like, Just when you lose all respect for him, you go ahead and put out Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild, Super Mario Odyssey, Pikmin 4, Metroid Prime 1, 2, and 3, and hopefully 4. I mean, all these games, Super Smash Brothers, they're all Nintendo properties, and they're all incredible experiences.